Welcome to the video on Exam 1 for Organic Chemistry in fall of 2020 on Tuesday, September 8th, starting at 8 a.m. I do allow students to arrive a little bit early so that we can be seated and be ready to hand out the exams at 7:45 a.m. So that will give you an extra 15 minutes to take the exam. In the past, the feedback has been very clear that my exams are very fair, but they are very long and it is hard to finish. So you're going to, right from the very beginning, have to be starting to think about utilizing your time management skills. And I'll give you some hints as we move forward. But the exam is going to be worth 100 points. The first 40 points is going to be 20 multiple choice questions worth 2 points each. The second part of the test is going to be free response questions. There's going to be a couple pages of 2-point questions and then a page or a page and a half of higher point questions, and those are free response, and those of course are susceptible to partial credit. And if I walk through the test, I will tell you exactly what's on the test. Literally, I have the test in front of me here, and I'm going to be telling you what's on the test. So in terms of multiple choice questions, here are the topics you can expect: atomic orbital shape and overlap to form sigma bonds and pi bonds, Lewis dot structures, including formal charges, Aufbau principle, Pauli exclusion principle, and Hund's rule. Looking at bond length and bond strength in terms of sigma, pi, single, double, triple bonds. Recognizing the correct Lewis dot structures for compounds. Knowing how many hydrogens are on a carbon in a line bond structure. How many orbitals for both the S and the P that exist in certain shells. Knowing the difference between sigma bonds and pi bonds in a line bond structure. Electron configuration. Polarity. Determine if a molecule is polar or nonpolar based on its structure. Covalent and ionic bonds and the difference between those. Hybridization and bond angle. Resonance structures, recognizing correct and incorrect structures. Hybridization of atoms in a aligned bond structure. Knowing how many carbons and or hydrogens are present in a line bond structure. Using the pKa value to decide whether something is a strong acid, strong base, weak acid, weak base, or we could even do using the pKa values of the acid to decide what kind of conjugate base will exist. Looking at a number of different hydrogens in a line bond structure and telling me which one is the most acidic. Looking at a sigma bond and deciding what is the hybridized orbitals of the one atom and the other atom that give you that sigma overlap. Infrared spectroscopy and knowing what it is about a molecule that allows us to get a signal in IR. And now for the free response. If we start with the 2-point questions, we have formal charge, valence electrons, molecular formula from a line bond formula, adding formal charge to a molecule that's here, drawing curved arrows to indicate a resonance structure, using curved arrows to represent a chemical reaction, determining the products of an acid-base reaction, labeling the conjugate acid, conjugate base, acid and base in a acid-base reaction. And then if we start talking about the higher point questions, so up till now, those are all 2 points each, the multiple choice and the free response. So now if we look at the bigger point questions in this section, the free response, I give you a big molecule and I ask you to identify and name all of the functional groups that are in that molecule. I ask you to draw the Lewis dot structure for a molecule. I ask you to draw the line bond formula for a molecule that's here. I ask that you draw all the resonance contributors, circling the major resonance contributor. I ask you to determine if something is going to be soluble in another component. I give you a series of conjugate bases and I ask you to tell me strongest and weakest and explain why. I give you 2 compounds with their pKa and I ask you to explain why one has a higher pKa than the other. I give you a series of acids and I ask you to rank them in order of increasing acidity and explain why. I give you a series of 3 acids and I ask you to indicate the strongest and the weakest and explain why. I give you an IR spectra with a series of 5 compounds and you are to circle the compound that fits the spectra. And for the last question, which is worth the most points, this one's worth 8 points. I give you a molecular formula and I ask you to draw all of the constitutional isomers for that molecule and then arrange them in increasing boiling point. I will give you the IR table of absorption that you see here. This will be attached to the back of the exam, so you will have this. You will also have access to a periodic table. You can use your calculator, although at this point there's no questions that require a calculator. You can use pen or pencil. If you write the exam in pencil, then I will not be able to regrade any portion of the test. I do make mistakes adding often. So if I make a mistake in adding, even with a pencil, you're allowed to come and talk to me about that. Many of the students that take my test think that the best way to do this is to start with the free response and get those done. So many students end up flipping right to the second part of the test and then go back to the multiple choice. That way, if they run out of time, they can always answer something and get some potential points that way. Because there are a total of 39 questions on this exam, and if we start at 7:45 and end at 9:15, that is 1 hour and 30 minutes. So you have to try to think about how much time each question is allotted so that you do not run out of time. If you have any questions about any of the topics that I've just indicated are on this exam, go ahead and sign up for an office hour with me so that we can discuss what that means. Or hopefully there's time during class on Thursday to answer any questions that you have. I absolutely give partial credit. Again, in the past, people have said that my tests are very fair, but very long. So it's a time management skill that we're really looking at here, not just knowledge. So you need to be able to use your time wisely. Try not to leave anything blank because there's nothing that's not doable. I will have a review session on Sunday via Zoom at 2 p.m. using my normal Zoom meeting link that's in Moodle. Feel free to log on and ask any questions you have about any sapling question, any worksheet question, any question of the day that we had, or I know we haven't done a lot of them, but any iClicker question. I hope that you recognize that this is the first test in organic chemistry and that we do want to put some time in this week and this weekend getting ready for this test on Tuesday. And I know that Monday is technically a holiday for other people, not Nazareth students. So I hope that you're able to spend the time that you need to prepare. And if you're going to pull an all-nighter for one of my exams, what I recommend is that you don't do it the night before the test, but you do it the night before that. So if you're going to pull an all-nighter for this test, go ahead and get that out of the way on Sunday night and then study on Monday and then go to bed and get a good night's sleep and eat a good breakfast. I'm fine if you want to bring the breakfast with you. It's going to be crazy trying to eat it around our masks, but if you need to bring a bagel with you so that you can eat, I know 7:45 is pretty early. Okay, I hope that helps you prepare for and get ready for my exam on Tuesday. I look forward to a review session with you on Sunday to answer any questions you may have. Awesome. Good luck.